Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00 and this episode of the Archive where we look into fusion reactor engines. Fusion reactor engines are the primary source of propulsion for all ships within the UNSC, utilising the basic principles of nuclear fusion, whereby atoms are fused together under extremely high temperatures and pressures in order to generate immense levels of energy, with the only byproducts of this reaction being huge amounts of energy, the generation of helium, and the generation of large amounts of heat which must be removed in order for them to remain active without overheating. Nuclear fusion is one of the most significant breakthroughs in energy generation technology, taking two atoms of deuterium, isotopes of hydrogen, and fusing them together under high pressures via very powerful magnetic fields. The result is a helium-3 nucleus and the release of immense amounts of energy, some of this energy being converted by a process called electrostatic direct energy conversion. Under normal circumstances, the heat released would be used to boil water, which would then turn generators for the purposes of energy generation, and any excess heat having to be dealt with a liquid coolant that is then ejected into space in order to keep the reactor cool. This liquid coolant limits just how much power output a reactor can have at any given time, meaning that the command crew, or more accurately the captain, has to have all due consideration to just how high he can run the operational temperatures of his reactor without inducing a meltdown, otherwise known as slagging the engines. However, as previously mentioned, more modern reactor engines use a process called direct energy conversion. The fusion reaction occurs within the massive reactor chamber within a highly charged plasma medium. A selective leakage port on the reactor chamber opens, and by means of magnetics and electrostatics, the ions and electrons in the plasma medium selectively leak from the reactor chamber and are directed into an expansion chamber. Here, the plasma medium containing the highly charged particles is guided and expanded in volume by a fan-shaped magnetic field that reduces the power density and converts the rotational energy of the reaction chamber to directional energy, suitable for energy conversion. The electrons are separated from the plasma stream and collected on an electron collector grid of varying potentials based on the variance in high and low electron fields. This forms the negative terminal of the power source. Next, the ions are decelerated by retarding electric fields. Kinetic energy is thereby converted to potential energy. And finally, the decelerated ions are collected on a high voltage electrode that form the positive terminal of the power source. This method of converting raw nuclear fusion energy to usable electricity can be considered as a particle accelerator in reverse. The high energy particles in the chamber are decelerated to low enough speeds to be effectively and above all efficiently manipulated and converted. The vast majority of the rest of the energy created is directed to the thrusters in a process called vector drive exhaust. The drive system includes an exotic mechanism that utilizes high-order manifolds to eliminate the otherwise devastating fusion backblast. This basically implies that if the amount of energy that is being forced from the engine's thrusters is sufficiently large enough that it actually backfeeds through the manifolds back into the reactor, the reaction itself will have a runaway reaction along with massive spikes in temperature, slagging the engines almost instantly. These high-order manifolds can be seen as the glowing rings and concentric patterns within the thruster nozzle. They serve to ensure that the massive amounts of energy the reactors produce and vector to the thrusters never builds up, backflows into the reactor, and allows any excess energy not able to exit the thrusters due to flow rate to be selectively leaked off via these conductive surfaces. When the Pillar of Autumn was retrofit with upgraded engines, it prototyped a new innovative technology to keep the reactors cool without the need for a liquid coolant, which included an upgrade cooling system which features a laser-induced optical slurry of ions chilled to near absolute zero, which was far more efficient than the typical method and removed the reliance on expendable chemical temperature-controlled substances. In essence, the amount of excess heat removed by the new system increases as the reactor's output did. This self-regulating and self-cooling power plant was critical in combat since it virtually eliminated a commander's concerns about overheating and slagging a ship's engines. Basically, the process of creating this laser-induced optical slurry of ions chilled to near absolute zero was powered by the very reactors themselves. This laser-induced slurry then cools the reactor chamber very, very efficiently, allowing the reactor to increase its power output still further, thus generating more of the optical slurry, thus cooling the engine still further. Of the limited amount of information of this optimized engine layout that actually backfed to the UNSC regarding the performance of these reactors in the Pillar of Autumn's final months, enough impressive performance characteristics were ascertained to convince the UNSC to use a more advanced version of this prototyped system with the flagship of the UNSC fleet, the Infinity. The UNSC Infinity features the same orientation of 1 primary and 2 secondary reactors. However, contrary to being simple nuclear fusion reactors, the Infinity boasts an impressive repulsor engine setup, using stacked tidal gravity generators which create asymmetrical gravity fields that push and pull a ship through space in the desired vector, all without the need for any reaction mass or conventional exhaust. Aside from the UNSC's nuclear fusion power plants, the Covenant use a technique which replicates the conditions inside the core of a star, using deuterium and tritium as the fuel source, which are isotopes of hydrogen with a nucleus that contains a proton-neutron pair and a proton-neutron-neutron trio respectively, where a normal, more common hydrogen atom known as protium has no neutron at all. Because of this method, it can be considered a purer, more natural way of producing energy, if a little uninspired. The Covenant's pinch fusion reactors generate energy by the use of artificial gravity generators that create highly focused and powerful gravitic fields which, as a causative effect, give a close approximation to the forces at work within the core of a main sequence star. The physical shape of the reactor, with its 2 cone-shaped gravity-focusing generators positioned one above the other, their tips in close proximity, allow the gravity field to be focused down from a larger macro area to an extraordinarily small micro area, facilitating the continued fusion reaction by literally pinching matter inside a very tiny gravity-reinforced area. This means that when the reactor injects a steady stream of deuterium and tritium, the particles immediately encounter this environment and act as though they were actually inside the core of a star. They are suddenly pinched and powerfully forced together, fusing them together into a helium-4 nucleus and a free neutron almost instantly, generating huge amounts of energy in the form of light and heat. The energy that is released is then used as the primary source of energetic excitation to energize a plasma medium that all Covenant technology seems to use as the basis of their energy source. The plasma within the reaction area is kept compressed by high-strength magnetic fields, ensuring the reaction can be sustained continuously. Regardless of these 2 different methods of which nuclear fusion has been achieved by the UNSC and the Covenant respectively, both reactions are nuclear fusion reactions and as such are one of the most powerful reactions known in the universe, and demonstrates the ability of both factions to be able to harness the very laws of the universe in order to power our immense devices. Alas, there are only 2 other reactions that are more powerful than this, and that is the quantum vacuum energy of the universe, mainly utilised by the Forerunners, and a matter-antimatter reaction which, although there is evidence of the existence of antimatter in the Halo universe, we've never actually had any law regarding matter-antimatter reactions for the sakes of energy generation. This is a field I continue to watch with interest. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below, I look forward to what you have to say. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons and YouTube members Neek the Sunlight Cartographer, Siphonic Storm and Todd Morrison, my Tier 0 Transcendients, Brian, Sebastian, Darian, Red Sea, Stalk of the Realms, Falcon X003, Starlight, Alvin, Flaming Halo, Josh, Legions Lost, Kyle, Cat Erdicam, Schneidish, Leon, Ignizzle, Chris, Cooper, Prophet, and Devon, the holders of the mantle, my Glorious Reclaimers, my loyal Metarchs,
and all the other patrons and YouTube members that have jumped aboard to support the channel. Much love to you guys, thanks so much for your support. It's keeping things happening and helping development of the channel and future awesomeness in a big way. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there, or jumping on as a channel member. It means the world to me and affords you loads of great perks and bonuses, while also helping work towards some awesome stuff in the near and distant future. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.